Hey, students, welcome back. This is for the next major grade, and hopefully, at some point in time, I will be able to do the daily works so I can help y'all on those. Because some of y'all are not coming to lunch tutorials and y'all not coming to after school tutorials, but y'all still need help, and these assignments still need to be done. So that's on the agenda next after this assignment. Now, after this one, we still need one more major grade, and there is supposed to be some tests coming up in February. So that will be the last major grade before the cutoff, and y'all get y'all report cards on March when y'all come back from spring break. But the last day for assignments is March the 6th. So let's begin. This is the Module 3, Topic 1 and 2 assessment. In all honesty, unlike the other one, which I said was the easiest, this one really was easier than that one. So let's begin in the easiness of it. Okay, that's not a word, but let's continue. Question number 1. Directions. Plot each point on the coordinate grid. Plot the points A, -4, -6, and B, -2, 1 on the coordinate plane in green. Okay, so what are we supposed to be finding, or what are we supposed to be doing? Well, it clearly says plot the points, and it gave you the points. Make sure they're in green. Otherwise, I will be taking off points because you have to be reading to know what you're supposed to be doing. Now, the only hint or note I will give you for this is, remember, these are ordered pairs, and there's a certain way ordered pairs are formulated. You have X and you have Y. That is your hint. Those are, well, I don't know if it's in your notes or not, but that is your hint. And that's all I'm going to give you for this problem. Moving on to number 2. Number 2, directions. Select the correct answer. Which point on the number line represents 22/5? So, what are we trying to do, or what are we trying to find? Well, we're trying to select a point on this number line that means this. Okay, well, if you look at the number line, it goes from 20 to 21. So obviously the answer is here because 22/5 is going to be between 20 and 21. If you watched the video on the previous assignment, I reiterated how to find the value of a tick mark. So remember, you look for a number, and usually it's the first number of the number line or the first number you see, and then notice how you get from one to the other. Well, the first number on this number line is 20, and the next one we see is 21. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines to get from 20 to 21. Remember, do not count this line because this is where we're starting. You do not count until you move. So if I'm counting by 10, fraction-wise, that's going to be 1/10, 2/10, and then, of course, the last one is 9/10, so forth and so on. It's your job to number the rest. Once you have this number, you need to you need to find a way to choose which one of these. So you have this one. Obviously, it can't be this one because there's nothing here to click. You can click one of these two, or this one, once you figure out where that number actually goes. All right, on to number 3. Directions. Drag and drop the correct answer choice to each answer blank. 2 models are shown. Which expression does each model represent? All right, so we're looking for an expression that represents the model. Well, let's look at model 1. It starts here, it goes here, it continues from here, and goes here. Pretty cut and dry. So obviously it has to be one of these 4 options. You would click on the one that you want and then drag it here. If you're having a hard time dragging, click the one you want and then click in the space and it will move it automatically if you're having trouble, because sometimes this is kind of hard to do when you have to scroll back up on the screen. But click on the answer you want, click in the space, it'll put it there for you. All right, let's look at this one. So model 2, we started here, we went this amount, then we went this amount, then we went this amount, then we went this amount and stopped. So depending on the pattern, as we said in class, I told you to go home and read this packet when we went over this lesson because we didn't have time to go through them all. This one, we did quite a few examples in class, so you should have the packets on that to remember how to write the equation or number sentence. And of course, these are your answer choices. So my hint to you is refer to your packets. All right, number 4. Mari used a thermometer to record temperatures of negative 3.4 degrees Celsius and 1.6 degrees Celsius. Which temperature in degrees Celsius is less than both of the temperatures Mari recorded? Okay, so what are we looking for? We're looking for a temperature that is less than both of the temperatures. What temperatures? These temperatures. Matter of fact, I'm going to highlight them just to make it more noticeable. These temperatures. Okay? So we're looking for a temperature that's less than both of the temperatures. These temperatures. You should know how to determine if something is less than a other number because this is nothing but comparing numbers. And we've talked about how negatives work. If you're having difficulty with this particular question, I would suggest you draw yourself a number line, either a horizontal one or a vertical one if you really want to make it look like a thermometer, and kind of decide where these numbers go on that number line. Make sure your number line is numbered, and that will help you the most. Number 5, 4 points are labeled on the number line. Which point represents the value of absolute value of negative 1/2? So first off, we're looking for a point that represents this. We only did this lesson one day in class, but as you can see, it has its importance and it will come back later on as you go through the grade levels, especially in high school when you get into algebra. This is a very important sign that will lead to you on graphing. It'll go to a graphing concept. But for right now, you just have to understand the meaning. So one of the things I would suggest for this one is, number 1, you need to know what this is. This is the absolute value of negative 1/2. If you don't remember what absolute value is or how it works, I would suggest you check the packet that we did in class. If you no longer have the packet, then I would suggest you look it up online, what that means and what this actually, the value of this number is. Once you know the true value, then you will be able to decide which letter actually represents the number. Going on to number 6. Directions. Select the correct answer. The Venn diagram shows the relationship among different sets of numbers. Consider the numbers 1/4, 0 and 675,000, negative 15, 2/3, and negative 12/3. Select the best classification for both negative 15 and negative 12/3. Now, this is also a lesson we only had one day in class to do. And once again, like I said in the previous question, I would ask you to refer to your packet if you are having trouble with this problem. There are 4 categories: natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers. And you are to click one of these that will classify both of these numbers. The only thing I can give you a hint about in this one, since we are trying to select the best classification for both of these numbers, is to make sure that any number that can be divided, like these fractions, are divided to see if they can become anything else other than a decimal. Because remember, whole numbers and integers can be fractions as long as they equal or can solve to a counting number. All right. So if you solve the fraction and it gives you a counting number, then it can go in another classification other than rational numbers. So I would always check all my fractions to make sure they can't go somewhere else. Don't just assume. All right, number 7. Which list shows the numbers in order from greatest to least value? All right, looking at this, we're given a list, and the list shows these numbers. We're trying to order them from greatest to least value. Okay, so that means I want the bigger ones first and the smaller ones last. Another thing I need you to take note of is that some of these are negative while some of them are positive. So already based on the number types or the number signs, you should be able to order some of these numbers just on that alone. There are some mixed numbers here. Well, there is a mixed number and 2 improper fractions. So you might need to divide them, the improper fractions, to figure out what their value is compared to the other ones. And that is a very good idea because you don't want to put them in the wrong spot because you thought they were bigger than a number and they were actually smaller than it. Moving on to number 8. Number 8 says, use the number line to determine the unknown integer for the equation. So we're dealing with a number line and we need to determine an unknown integer. So the number has to be an integer. So there should be absolutely no fraction put in this space because we are not looking for a fraction. We are looking for an integer. To determine means to find. So let's look at this number line. We started here, we went to here, and then somehow we got over here. So you got to figure out how we got over there. And that's about all the help I can give you. Now, as far as other help that can assist you in this type of problem, I would suggest you refer to the packet that we did on this lesson. That would also help you because we did many number line problems, and this was a packet that we worked on for 2 days. Number 9. Which equation is not true? This is a particular problem that we did, or type of problem that we did as an exit ticket for one day when we were reviewing integers. So you needed to remember the rules of the integers and you needed to remember the rules of all of them because we're looking for a false equation. That means it cannot be correct at all. We have addition, we have multiplication, we have subtraction, and we have division. You need to apply all the rules you know for these numbers because all of these are integers. You need to apply all the rules to these to see which one of these turns out to be false, the wrong answer. They solved it incorrectly. All right, going to number 10, and number 10 is our last problem for this assignment. Trey is playing a game that involves rolling a black number cube and a red number cube. And when we went over a similar problem in class for review, I asked you, what does it mean by a number cube? He is rolling dice, and the dice only have 6 sides. So the highest number you can get is a 6, and that's about all. The result of a red number cube represents a negative number, and the result of a black number cube represents a positive number. Trey's current score is 4, then he rolls a red 5 and a black 3. Write an equation that can be used to represent Trey's new score. Now, this type of problem was a homework problem, and it was one of those pages that you had to turn in. So first off, what are we trying to find, or what are we looking for? We need to write an equation that represents Trey's new score. So we know he was currently at 4, then he rolls and gets a red 5 and a black 3. So we need to write out what that looks like. We already have the equal sign. So my answer, what I'm solving is going to be on this side, and the solution is going to be on this side just to make things easy. These things usually go from left to right, although as you get higher in grade levels, it can start to reverse itself. But in the case of this one, write it in order. What you solve or what you are trying to solve is over here. What you get as an answer should be on this side. I would suggest you refer to your homework, and if you haven't done the homework, I really don't know what to tell you. Come to tutorials. We didn't have a chance to go over this packet in class, so I can't say refer to the packet unless you did the homework. So that is it for this video. I hope this is helpful, but remember, it is not my job to give you answers. It's my job to give you guidance and lead you in the way that you should go to understand these problems and use the knowledge that has been provided in class and your previous knowledge that has been provided before you got here to solve these problems. That is it for me today, and I will see you later. Bye.